welcome back to my YouTube channel, It's a Book, and this is episode 12, which I have entitled Oranges. If I had to sum up my writing style, I would say that it is truly allegorical in both intent and structure. I grew up in the projects in the South Bronx, and all of the people I've met, all of the experiences I had growing up, good and bad, they've shaped who I am and influences my storytelling. An allegory is any writing that reveals a hidden meaning. I talk a lot, but I still manage to be very private. I want to share my life experiences with the hopes that it will resonate with someone looking to find themselves in the pages of stories that they read. And I also want to share details of my life with someone who has a completely different outlook and upbringing than what I had, in the hopes that their eyes will be open to someone else's worldview. But since I'm private and don't want to tell all of my personal business, I challenge myself to find creative ways to reveal myself without being revealing. I write stories that are surreal and fantastical, but if you dig deeper, you just might scratch the surface of who I am. I feel as though I have something important to say, and I want to say it in a way that is informative and engaging and thought-provoking. Sometimes I can sit with my laptop and the sentences and dialogue will just flow like water, and other times I will spend 15 minutes trying to string together the perfect combination of words. I have not perfected my process yet, but I know I will get there. The other day I was talking to my mom, and we shared a memory from my childhood that I would like to share with you guys today. My mom is a single mom. She raised 3 kids on her own in one of the lowest income areas in the nation. We didn't have designer clothing. We didn't have like super expensive sneakers or things like that, but we were really well cared for and didn't want for much. My mom worked 16-hour shifts so she could send us to private school and take us on vacations and buy us all the books we wanted, and video games and dance classes and comic books. Anything that we were into, she provided for us. She didn't have a lot when she was growing up, so she made sure that we didn't go without. My mom refused to buy us Jordans, and we survived on store brand cereals and stuff, but she did a lot of things that were special and out of the ordinary. And when I think back, I think, my God, she terrorized us in some ways because she was so strict and demanding, but she also spoiled us and really made us appreciate like the little things. And we learned not to take that for granted. Every winter, my mom would purchase this box of like 60 oranges. It was insane. It came from a grower in Florida. I don't know how she came across this company, but I don't even know if they're still in business. But for years, my brother, sister, and I knew that when the temperatures dropped, we were getting a shipment via UPS or USPS. I don't remember who delivered the packages, but whenever it got cold, we knew what was up. The oranges were big and juicy and delicious, and I know adulthood kind of sweetens the aftertaste of childhood memories. You know, you get wrapped up in nostalgia and all that stuff, but these oranges were really good, and we refrigerated them so they could last all winter long. My mom knew what she was doing too. My friends were missing school left and right with cases of like bronchitis or the flu or like a chronic cough that never went away. And aside from seasonal allergies, my siblings and I were at peak health during the cold months, and everybody knows how brutal winters in New York City can be, but we were pretty healthy and didn't really get sick too much. Anyway, those oranges delivered a really impactful lesson one year. We were coming home from running some errands and came upon a note on the door from UPS or the post office saying that a delivery was attempted, but since no one was home, our package was left with the neighbor. So we knocked on the neighbor's door and they gave us our box with a huge smile, like, oh sure, here's your stuff. You know, we were just holding it for you, no big deal. So the oranges came individually wrapped in paper and were in their own little compartments, similar to eggs in a carton. And Mom and I would unwrap each orange and put it in the fridge. It was insane. We had to leave a couple on the table because all of the oranges wouldn't fit, but it was a nice, like, citrusy chaos going on. And by the end of winter, we'd be sick of oranges until the next year when we got our next shipment. But, you know, it was a good problem to have. Fresh fruit, right? Anyway, we got down to the bottom of the box and about a dozen oranges were missing. In their places were the crumbled up wrappers stuffed into the small cubby holes that the oranges were sitting in, and that was done so that the trays on top wouldn't sink to the bottom, alerting us that something was wrong. Long story short, my neighbors got cursed out that day. They had opened our package apparently, saw what was inside, and lifted up all the trays to get to the bottom tray and took oranges from the bottom of the box. They probably thought it would be a while before we got to the end of our shipment, and were maybe banking on, like, by then we wouldn't notice, like we would be in some kind of orange stupor or we wouldn't care. But my mom cared. She marched right on over to the neighbors, accused them of stealing our oranges, and told them they were never, ever, ever to accept a package again. And she gave explicit instructions to UPS, USPS, and for years, I remember, like, we would have to go to the post office, which wasn't just like a hop and a skip away. Like, we had to trek to the local post office with that little slip saying that we missed the delivery so that we can pick up our packages, because after that situation with the oranges, my mom was just like, oh, hell no, no one's gonna accept packages from me again. And, you know, they just weren't trusted, you know? But you're probably thinking, that's a stupid story, but for me it wasn't. That was one of the early times in my life where I started to see into people, like not just see them, but consider their motives and try to make sense out of nonsense. The stealing of the oranges was a small violation, but a violation nonetheless. Our neighbors probably thought nothing of their theft, but I saw firsthand how hard my mom worked to provide for us. She worked the night shifts and would take the bus and subway in all types of weather to make sure rent and tuition was paid and food was on the table and we had clothes. She sacrificed so much time and talent for us, and to her, taking those dozen or so oranges was like an affront, you know? The sad part though is if my mom had thought my neighbors would have enjoyed these oranges, or if they had simply asked, she would have gladly shared. My mom's a tough lady. She's a lot of things, but she's a good person and she gives selflessly all the time. She, like I said, she grew up without a lot of stuff, so it's nothing for her to like pay it forward to the next person. And you know, she just felt totally disrespected, and you know, maybe she went off a little bit too hard on them at the time, but I totally understand. Like, she worked really hard for what we did have, and for someone to just come and feel like they can take it no matter how small, it could be seen as like blatant disrespect, but they never did that again. Anyway, I think about those oranges now, and it was like one of those tangy, pulpy doses of reality where I was snatched from that general obliviousness of childhood and saw deception firsthand. Like, if you really think about it, our neighbors feigned ignorance when my mom confronted them, but you could tell they were being dishonest. Like, even a child could pick that up. They were fidgeting and their gazes were shifty and they looked guilty, you know? And also, I saw the pith of an orange rind in their teeth. I'm lying, but could you imagine? It was just that obvious that they had done this. But anyway, so going back to my writing style, there is no possible way that I could write a chapter about the ways of men and, you know, how a young mind starts to perceive and decipher people and experiences. It would be a long chapter and probably not very entertaining. So in the spirit of the orange story and other things that have taught me valuable life lessons over the years, I kind of strive to relay that information in a way that is clear and concise and evokes the emotions I felt that day when I watched someone tell a bold-faced lie. When I write, I see people, places, and things in the same surreal way some of my favorite artists use to tell their stories. I love the works of Kehinde Wiley and Salvador Dali. There is something so beautiful about the convergence of reality and fantasy and using one to make sense of the other. So if you read my work and you think I'm just only talking about science and math and things that are concrete, I could very well just be talking about oranges. You never know. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that story and kind of give you a peek into the window of my mind. And I implore you to not just read my stories and dig deeper, but read everything through a different lens and don't take everything for face value. Like, some things are just obvious, 1 + 1, but consider the author when you're reading and their life experiences, what you do know about them, and think of all the things that you don't know and think of how they are trying to explain their worldview to you through their own unique lens. But anyway, tomorrow's Halloween. I'll try to do another video in my second costume this year, and I hope everyone stays safe and has a great night. Good night.